So Jess, what is the Watershed Agricultural Council and what do you guys do?
The Watershed Agricultural Council is a nonprofit organization. We get most of our funding from the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, but also some USDA and US Forest Service grants as well. And we help people who own and manage property in New York City's drinking water watershed.
Okay.
So if you own a farm or a forest in particular and your land drains into New York City's drinking water reservoirs, we want to help you understand your land and manage your land so that you can afford to keep it, you can afford to work it, you can meet your own goals, but we're also protecting water quality down the line. Because the land is the water's filter, and what you do on land impacts what happens in the water.
Watershed Agricultural Council has this amazing program where you provide free trees, a minimum of 5, to anyone who lives in the New York City watershed area. It is so rare to have anything be free in this day and age, so I wanted to ask you, why are native trees so important that you would be willing to give them away for free?
Yeah, native trees are critical for a healthy forest ecosystem, and a healthy forest ecosystem is really important for clean drinking water. Forests are a primary water filter, and they protect the water from erosion, which can then leach excess nutrients into the water, other kinds of pollution that we maybe don't want to see in the water that we're drinking. And most of New York City's drinking water, in the Catskill Mountains in particular, is only filtered by forests. So trees are vital. We want healthy trees if we want clean drinking water in the end.
Okay, healthy trees equal clean drinking water.
Absolutely.
When I think of Westchester, I mean, on our drive up here, even where we're sitting, we have a lot of trees. Why do we need more trees? And why do they have to be native trees if we already have so many?
It's a very layered answer to that question.
Absolutely.
There's a few things that are impacting forest regeneration, meaning when bigger trees die, younger trees should be growing up to replace them in the understory.
Okay.
That's not always happening, especially in Westchester, because we have invasive species that are outcompeting native species. We have climate change that's sort of impacting heat, humidity, and water in our environment, which can be a stressor on native plants. And we also have heavy deer browse. So deer are moving through the forest understory and chomping down baby trees before they can make it up to that mid-story or especially overstory level.
Okay.
So we provide the free trees. We also provide protection from deer so that they can have the chance to grow up and leave that danger zone.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot of invasive species that make you think that our environment is maybe a little bit greener than it is. Some people refer to this as the green lie or green blindness, where you're driving down the highway and it looks so green and lush, but what you're actually seeing is a lot of bittersweet vine that's smothering our trees, or Japanese barberry that is outcompeting our native understory plants. So there's a few different reasons that we need to help our natural forest ecosystems regenerate.
If I were to participate in your free native tree program, I were to apply and get free native trees on my property, and I know it includes shrubs and other sorts of native plants, not just trees, what benefits would I see?
So you would have the benefit of knowing that you did something to help your local ecosystem, and for a lot of people that is very rewarding in and of itself. But native plants also provide a lot of beauty to our landscape, and it's beauty that we don't often see because they are so smothered and repressed in our own environment. So there are a lot of beautiful flowering shrubs and trees with really interesting bark that adds a lot of winter landscape appeal when there are no leaves or flowers on the trees. And you'd also see an increase in wildlife and biodiversity on your own property. So native trees provide food for caterpillars, which in turn are food for baby birds. You need thousands of caterpillars to take one bird from a hatchling to an adult. And native trees are the best for giving our insects a food source.
Okay, so they're beautiful and they do a great service to our ecosystem as a whole, and they're, habitats for baby animals and birds and bees and flora and fauna. So all the things you love to look out your window and see.
Absolutely. It's a win-win-win all around.
I love that. Let's talk about this free trees program. From application to roots in the ground, what is the process to get these free plants?
Sure. So our management assistance program, which is the name of the grant that provides the trees, we call it MAP, M-A-P for short. Free trees are one project you can apply for MAP for. So to get the free trees, you have to start with a site visit. So I'll come out to your property, and this is for free. I'll walk your land with you, talk about what I'm seeing. You can tell me about any challenges or issues you're facing, and we can kind of brainstorm some solutions. But I'm really also going to be looking to see, is your property a good space for new trees? Do you have sunlight reaching the ground so the trees can grow? Do you have water access? What's the soil like? That'll help me determine how many trees we could add to your property and also what species, because we want to make sure what we're planting there can grow, is in the right space for it. So I'll start with a site visit. After that, I will send you the application if you're interested in moving forwards. And you'll fill out the first page, which is a lot of contact info, basic information like that. And then you'll go right to the tree planting section and note how many trees or shrubs you're interested in receiving.
Okay.
And then you'll also put in a brief description of the project. So for example, if you want trees along your stream because you're worried about erosion getting into your water and you've got dappled sunlight, all of that is really important for me to know when I'm looking about how many trees to buy and what kinds.
And so you will have helped me learn that information. Okay, and so how many trees and where they're going to go, what site is best for them.
Yeah.
Amazing. And all of that is free.
Yep, it's all free, and
That's
it usually ends
incredible.
up being a diverse mix of native species.
Cool.
So good for birds, good for flowering and beauty on your land, good for erosion.
That's
all of that.
fantastic. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys. And it's free. All you have to do is go online and you fill out an application. And then you get to hang out with Jess. And then you get free trees. Okay.
Pretty good deal.
What I'm also hearing is that you're a little bit of a matchmaker. You go out and you talk to people and you look at their properties and you're kind of picking their match. You're like, you know, kind of an OK Cupid or a little bit of like a Tinder, Hinge kind of curator. So I would love to know, based on my vibe, what is the perfect native tree species for me?
What's your spirit tree?
Exactly. You know, like I'm a long walk on the beach type of girl. Like I like to snuggle up in front of a fire. You know, I'm a Capricorn. So what native species do you think is my love match?
I'm going to say an eastern red cedar or
obsessed
a
with
juniper. So it's an early successional tree. It likes to be in the sun. It likes it to be maybe a little bit hotter and drier. So good kind of sandier, beachy kind of vibe because it likes the open space. And then your hair color really beautifully matches like the reddish inner bark that the cedar gives. And it's got these beautiful little blue berries that it fruits with. So I'm getting eastern red cedar vibes.
That was so fun.
Now, Jess, I wanted to ask what tree you would match me with.
Yeah, so I get sugar maple vibes from you. We don't work at the same organization right now, but I've had the pleasure of working with you in the past. So I know firsthand how sweet and how sturdy and strong you are. And that's what I think of when I think of sugar maples. We get this wonderfully sweet sap from them that we turn into syrup, and they're just such independent and capable growers. They're strong wood. They grow right up in the forest, all up and down the Hudson Valley. And I know you've lived up and down the Hudson Valley, so I'm getting sugar maple vibes.
Awesome. I love it.
You very recently met with Midge Iorio, who is our program director at Bedford 2030, and you guys went to the Bedford Hills Memorial Park and planted some trees. So what was that process like, and what trees did you pick? What was the location? Why did you pick that? And tell me about it.
Yeah, so the town was interested in adding trees. There's a water body there, a pond, and there's a playground right nearby, so they don't want that land eroding away and compromising the space that people are playing and recreating in. So we planted some trees along that pond space, including eastern red cedars that are hoping are growing up very nice and happy there.
Lovely.
We also added in, I believe, some winterberries, which are a shrub, a large understory woody shrub that'll produce red berries, which birds love in the fall. It's a really great substitute for Japanese barberry. If you've got that on your property and you like the red berries, this is a native alternative that provides that same color fruit. And yeah, we went through with the town's maintenance crew. They were super helpful and interested in learning about how to plant these plants properly and why they were there, and it was a good day.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you for doing that. And it's something we'll all get to enjoy for years and years to come, and is, you know, not only enjoy the beauty of, but also enjoy the environmental benefits of it.
Yeah,
and
planting in public space is great because then other people get to see the fruits of your labor. We do provide trees for private property, but public spaces are fun because it really gives that community aspect to the program.
Love it. From your perspective, what is the number one tip to happy, healthy plants?
The number one tip is really going to be keeping an eye on them and just, you know, don't set it and forget it. They're going to need your help over time because, again, we have all those environmental stressors that could be impacting their health. So for example, if we're in another drought like we were this past fall, you're going to want to go out and water your trees. And normally they don't need too much water because they're native to our ecosystems. They're adapted to our climate. But when we have climate change impacts in our own environment, you might have to go out and supplement what nature's kind of lacking on now. So watering could be important. Monitoring for any disease is also critical. So that way, hopefully you can catch something early on and maybe help remediate it from the tree. And then also maintaining the deer protection materials. So trees will go into tree tubes, shrubbier, branchier plants will get a ring of fencing around them. And over time, after ice storms, after blowdowns, things could knock those over. And if it falls down with the tree inside, it could actually be detrimental to the tree's health. So you want to make sure you're propping those up, letting the tree grow nice and happy and healthy as best you can.
All right. So as you said, don't set it and forget it. They're
Nope.
You're new members of the family, so you've got to keep an eye out for them and make sure they're succeeding. And it's kind of like adopting a tree.
Yeah, and you go through all the effort of picking the tree and planting the tree.
Yeah.
You want it to be there for a long time.
Absolutely.
We're really looking for the people who are like, I'm dedicated, I'm going to watch these plants help me do this.
Yeah.
And we have more confidence that what we give them is going to survive long term.
Yeah. And the people who, as much as they care about the benefits they're going to see on their own property, are also, really interested in these global and regional benefits of, improving water quality and improving the ecosystem health as a whole. And, I think a lot of our properties, especially in this area, are very isolated. We've got all these big highways, and so there's not a lot of exchange of, pollen or animals.
Very fragmented habitat.
That's it. Yeah. And so thinking of your property as part of a whole rather than just, by itself behind a white picket fence. I think those kind of people will really love this program because you're contributing to something bigger than your yard.
Yeah, and if your neighbor participates and you participate and the person next town over participate, you might not know one another, you might not see each other's plants, but now the birds have multiple stopping points on their migration. Now there's more places for all these butterflies and moths to lay their eggs, and it adds up.
A community building effort.
My name is Jessica Alba. I'm the Watershed Forest Stewardship Educator at the Watershed Agricultural Council. My job involves educating forest landowners on ways that they can maintain their property for the betterment of water quality, but also to meet their landowner goals, whatever those might be. And I also help out with our school-based education programs, which brings students up from New York City into their drinking water watershed so they can see the reservoirs that hold their water and learn about the forests that help protect it.